When he finished speaking to the people, he entered Capernaum. A Roman captain there had a servant who was on his deathbed. He prized him highly and didn't want to lose him. When he heard Jesus was back, he sent leaders from the Jewish community asking him to come and heal his servant. They came to Jesus and urged him to do it, saying, "He deserves this. He loves our people. He even built our meeting place." Jesus went with them, and when he was still quite far from the house, the captain sent friends to tell him, "Master, you don't have to go to all this trouble. I'm not that good a person, you know. I'd be embarrassed for you to come to my house, even embarrassed to come to you in person. Just give the order and my servant will be well. I'm a man under orders. I also give orders. I tell one soldier go and he goes, and another come and he comes. My slave do this and he does it." Taken aback, Jesus addressed the accompanying crowd. "I've yet to come across this kind of simple trust anywhere in Israel. The very people who are supposed to know about God and how he works." When the messengers got back home, they found the servant up and well. Not long after that, Jesus went to the village of Nain. His disciples were with him, and along with quite a large crowd. As they approached the village gate, they met a funeral. A woman's only son was being carried out for burial, and the mother was a widow. When Jesus saw her, his heart broke. He said to her, "Don't cry." Then he went over and touched the coffin. The pallbearer stopped. He said, "Young man, I tell you, get up." The dead son sat up and started talking. Jesus presented him to his mother. They all realized that they were in a place of holy mystery, that God was at work among them. They were quietly worshipful and then noisily grateful, calling out among themselves, "God is back, looking to the needs of his people." The news of Jesus spread through all the country.
Is this what you were expecting? John's disciples reported back to him the news of all these events taking place. He sent 2 of them to the master to ask the question, "Are you the one we've been expecting, or are we still waiting?" The men showed up before Jesus and said, "John the Baptizer sent us to ask you, are you the one we've been expecting, or are we still waiting?" In the next 2 or 3 hours, Jesus healed many from diseases, distress, and evil spirits. To many of the blind he gave the gift of sight. Then he gave his answer, "Go back and tell John what you have just seen and heard. The blind see, the lame walk, lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised. The wretched of the earth have God's salvation, hospitality extended to them. Is this what you were expecting? Then count yourselves fortunate."
After John's messengers left to make their report, Jesus said more about John to the crowd of people. "What did you expect when you went out to see him in the wild? A weekend camper? Hardly. What then? A sheik in silk pyjamas? Not in the wilderness. Not by a long shot. What then? A messenger from God? That's right, a messenger, probably the greatest messenger you'll ever hear. He is the messenger Malachi announced when he wrote, 'I'm sending my messenger on ahead to make the road smooth for you.' Let me lay it out for you as plainly as I can. No one in history surpasses John the Baptizer, but in the kingdom he prepared for you, the lowliest person is ahead of him. The ordinary and disreputable people who heard John by being baptized by him into the kingdom are the clearest evidence. The Pharisees and religious officials would have nothing to do with such a baptism, wouldn't think of giving up their place in line to their inferiors. How can I account for the people of this generation? They're like spoiled children coming complaining to their parents. 'We wanted to skip rope and you were always too tired. We wanted to talk but you were always too busy.' John the Baptizer came fasting and you called him crazy. The Son of Man came feasting and you called him a lush. Opinion polls don't count for much, do they? The proof of the pudding is in the eating."
One of the Pharisees asked him over for a meal. He went to the Pharisee's house and sat down at the dinner table. Just then a woman of the town harlot, having learned that Jesus was a guest in the home of the Pharisee, came with a bottle of very expensive perfume and stood at his feet, weeping, raining tears on his feet. Letting down her hair, she dried his feet, kissed them, and anointed them with the perfume. And the Pharisee who'd invited him saw this. He said to himself, "If this man was the prophet I thought he was, he would have known what kind of woman is falling all over him."
Jesus said to Simon, "I have something to tell you. Oh, tell me." 2 men were in debt to a banker. One owed 500 pieces of silver, the other 50. Neither of them could pay up, and so the banker cancelled both debts. Which of the two would be more grateful? Simon answered, "I suppose the one who was forgiven the most."
"That's right," said Jesus. Then turning to the woman, but speaking to Simon, he said, "Do you see this woman? I came to your home, and you provided no water for my feet, but she rained tears on my feet and dried them with her hair. You gave me no greeting, but from the time I arrived, she hasn't quit kissing my feet. You provided nothing for freshening up, but she soothed my feet with perfume." Impressive, isn't it? She was forgiven many, many sins, and so she is very grateful. If the forgiveness is minimal, the gratitude is minimal. Then he spoke to her, "I forgive your sins." That set the dinner guests talking behind his back. Who does he think he is, forgiving sins? He ignored them and said to the woman, "Your faith has saved you. Go in peace." He continued according to plan, travelled to town after town, village after village, preaching God's kingdom and spreading the message. The 12 were with him. There were also some women in their company who'd been healed of various evil afflictions and diseases. Mary, the one called Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had gone out, Joanna, the wife of Chuza, Herod's manager, and Susanna, along with many others who used their considerable means to provide for the company. "That's right," said Jesus. Then turning to the woman, but speaking to Simon, he said, "Do you see this woman? I came to your home, and you provided no water for my feet, but she rained tears on my feet and dried them with her hair. You gave me no greeting, but from the time I arrived, she hasn't quit kissing my feet. You provided nothing for freshening up, but she soothed my feet with perfume." Impressive, isn't it? She was forgiven many, many sins, and so she is very grateful. If the forgiveness is minimal, the gratitude is minimal. Then he spoke to her, "I forgive your sins." That set the dinner guests talking behind his back. Who does he think he is, forgiving sins? He ignored them and said to the woman, "Your faith has saved you. Go in peace."